MAGA Republicans really enjoy using the southern border as a tool to attack Biden and to fearmonger about, but it's become abundantly clear that they actually have no interest in solving the logistical and humanitarian problems that we're facing regarding the southern border. They're choosing to obstruct solutions because they love so much being able to fearmonger about problems, and it's something we've been discussing a lot lately. And I have a somewhat satisfying few clips to watch on this. There was a hearing yesterday where the subject of the southern border was being discussed, and Democrats finally had a chance to call out the dishonesty of MAGA Republicans to their face in the hearing room. Fantastic moments. And then we will unfortunately briefly watch a couple MAGA Republicans in this segment, Marjorie Green and Ana Palacio Luna, so brace for that. Before playing the first one, let me remind you of some of the context. Biden proposed, and then Senate Democrats, and to their credit, Senate Republicans, negotiated a deal on the border. Specifically, if it were passed, $14 billion would be allocated to the border. More Border Patrol agents, asylum officers, specifically to combat fentanyl, etc. So this is a deal struck again between Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans, but House Republicans are saying they won't pass it. Now, if they actually cared about the issue, they say constantly that they do, they wouldn't have that stance, but they don't actually care because the priority is hurting President Biden politically. And now multiple Republicans have openly admitted that, as will be called out by Jared Mosit in one of the clips I'll show. With that being said, here is first Jasmine Crockett during this border hearing.
Clear President Biden has tried to give state and local governments and nonprofits federal resources to support temporary food, shelter, and other services, but MAGA House Republicans are refusing to give those cities and states those resources. President Biden has tried to put 1,300 more Border Patrol agents at the border to help, but Republicans have obstructed that request. Republicans want to cut the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. President Biden has tried to give our border agents 100 new cutting-edge inspection devices and add 1,000 additional law enforcement personnel. Republicans obstructed that request. Honestly, I can't tell if y'all are for anything other than obstruction and cruelty. Just take a look at my governor last week. He said, and I quote, "The only thing we're not doing is we're not shooting people who come across the border because, of course, the Biden administration would charge us with murder." I know Governor Abbott doesn't understand the law, but let me say this, that absolutely would be murder. And with that...
So while House Republicans are publicly lying about Biden's policies at the border and saying that he should do more, they're simultaneously obstructing him from doing more. Pretty insane. This is what happens when you prioritize power and politics over people. Here's Democratic Congressman Jared Mosit explaining why the Republicans are obstructing in this manner.
By the way, they don't want to solve this issue either. Again, don't listen to me. Just listen to the speaker, who was caught on a call the other day saying that we can't solve the border crisis until after the election. By the way, here's Congressman Troy Niels giving it all away. Giving it all away. Let's read this. Let me tell you, he's talking about immigration, let me tell you, I'm not willing to do a darn thing right now to help a Democrat, to help Joe Biden's approval rating. I will not help the Democrats try to improve this man's dismal approval ratings. I'm not going to do it. He's saying he's not going to do anything on the border. And he's from Texas, which needs help. He's not going to do anything because he doesn't want to give Joe Biden a win. You have members of this committee that have threatened to vacate the speaker again if they do anything on the border. Senator John Thune has said this is a unique opportunity. He said when Trump was president and Republicans controlled both chambers, they couldn't get done the policies that are being discussed now. So look, I'm willing to do stuff on the border. I'm willing to do it. But they're not willing to do it because they're doing what people hate about this place. They want to use it to raise money. They want to use it to politicize it. But they don't want to solve the issue. There's a deal on the table. They can solve the issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's about politics, which is honestly crazy. I cover these individuals every day, and sometimes, somehow, I'm still shocked. And this whole situation is one of those times. They're quite literally being proposed what they've been pretending like they want, and they're unwilling to pass it. This reminds me of the open border lie, telling that sort of lie, actually worked in direct opposition to their stated goals, lying to the world and saying Biden stopped enforcing laws at the border and anyone can come on in with no court process or anything. In theory, would actually encourage more people to come, but they would keep saying it, knowing that it wasn't accurate. It's crazy. Now, by the way, before playing a couple of clips of MAGA Republicans being ridiculous, here's an interesting bit of data I wanted to reference. So many Republicans have this myth, as I'm sure you know, that the cruelty can be the solution on this issue. But border encounters actually increased every year under Trump until 2019, when they were higher than any year under Obama. And then, of course, dropped significantly during the pandemic in 2020 because of the pandemic. Movement froze in many ways. But Republicans don't say that those increases throughout Trump's presidency were because he was opening the border, partially opening the border. And so now that we've seen a significant surge, absolutely, under Biden, the question has to be asked, what are the reasons? And that's a complicated conversation that relates heavily to the post-pandemic conditions and the situations in the countries people are migrating from. But Biden's only power is in deciding how he responds. And I do think he could have done things better on that front, for sure. But we also can't forget that right when he got into office, he proposed an immigration reform proposal, and Republicans had no interest in it. Then here's Ana Palacio Luna, who wants Biden to make cruelty the point.
That Mr. Breer had made. You talk about intentional trauma and that the Trump administration caused intentional trauma by separating these children from their quote unquote parents. The fact is that one, you don't know if these people are really, why are you laughing? Mr. Breer, why are you laughing?
Because you said quote unquote parents, as if they weren't really their parents.
You have no idea. Not only have you not been to the border,
I'm not done.
Hold on, I'm not done. I'm not done. You have no idea if these people are their intentional parents or not.
Oh yeah.
You have no idea. That's exactly why we do family. Really? Are you psychic?
No,
have you won the lotto, Mr. Breer? I don't think you have.
Read the Office of Inspector General report on family separation.
You have no idea what you're doing, and you are hurting these children. The reason why we want family separation until we can confirm if they are the actual biological parents is because these kids are being trafficked.
As a father, that
I do.
is
Excuse me, I'm a mother. We can go back and forth, but I'm done talking to you because what you did was destructive. Now, going back to what I just showed you right there, you have no idea if that person or that individual is that parent.
So advocating for child separation there. And let me make super clear, as Democrats, we have to advocate for addressing issues at the southern border in a humane way. Doesn't mean sacrificing security or organization at all, but we have to allocate enough resources and manpower and in such a way that people aren't being abused and dying, and the processing of people needs to be more efficient. And the reason why we haven't been implementing reforms to make that possible is because of obstruction, just like the situation we're seeing play out right now. Then here's Speaker of the House Mike Johnson admitting that Trump directed him to kill the deal.
The president actually just got off the phone with me right before the show, and he said he has spoken to you about this deal and that he is against it, and he urged you to be against this deal. He was President Trump was extremely adamant about that. Your reaction to that, given the fact that, look, he knows how to do this enforcement stuff. You don't need some new bill coming out of the Senate to get the border enforced.
Yeah, President Trump is not wrong. He and I have been talking about this pretty frequently. I talked to him night before last about the same subject.
So not super hard to guess why Trump doesn't want a solution on the issue he's built much of his campaign on fear-mongering about. Then one other random visual that flies in the face of Republican stories about Biden, people encountered at the southern border were more likely to be released in the last 2 years of Trump than the first 2 of Biden, as I'm showing up next to me, meaning a larger percentage of migrants were expelled or repatriated under Biden than Trump. What? I was told by Republicans that Biden was trying to let in the maximum number of people. And again, this conversation is so much more broad than just border encounter numbers and expulsion numbers. We got to talk about expanding the legal path for immigrants and more efficiently processing asylum claims, which there's a big backlog on, and all that. But my point is that chart is the opposite of the story that they tell about Biden opening the border. And then, oh goodness, here's Marjorie Green at the border hearing.
The Biden administration is guilty of the largest human trafficking operation in history. This is human trafficking. I just traveled in airports across the country just the past few days. You know what I saw in our airports? Migrants, illegal aliens, all over in the airports. You know who?
How on earth would Marjorie Green know if someone is an undocumented immigrant in an airport just passing by? I would say to that question, I don't know, but I think we all know how she makes those sorts of judgments, and it's pretty dang vile. So in summary, Democrats and Senate Republicans are willing to work together on actual solutions on this. House Republicans care too much about fear-mongering about the problem. And that's where things stand on this. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you want to do something even more, you can become a member at lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. And then if you want to contact the show, I pretty much see all of the forms that come in on that. I don't respond to all of them, but I see them. So if you want to get a message to the show, you can go to lukebeasleyshow.com/contact. Thank you so much.